Hey guys, welcome to another video where we're going to read some young adult books and see if they're any good. And I'm a young adult librarian, so, apparently I should like them, but usually I don't. So here's what we've got. We've got 3 books in this vlog. We have The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, which I've DNF'd previously, but said I would try again as long as I read it physically. I think I couldn't get into the audiobook, so I actually wound up getting all 4 copies, or all 4 of the books in the series from school because they were all discarded. I took like the kind of bad, ugly looking copies, and we just didn't need that many copies of this series. I think we had like 3 copies. So I took them for now, and then of course I'll probably give them away to kids later because I don't think I'll keep them, but we'll see. But everybody loves this series and says it's like the best series ever. So we're going to try it again. Next is a random sci-fi book. So that one was fantasy. This one is sci-fi called The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. Editing Megan here, just pause for a second and know that I did not read this book, actually. I said I was going to read Patrick Ness' book, but I realized that I did not want to. It was too similar to one of the books I was reading, so I actually changed and decided to read Neverworld Wake again because it's one of my favorite young adult books of all time, possibly my number 1. If you watched my recent video, you might have seen that. So just know that this book will not be read in this video, but you will get to see Neverworld Wake instead. You'll see me change gears kind of midway through the video. I'm not even sure what order I'll read these in, but I guess I'm reading the other one first because I already started it, but maybe then this one. And it's about like the chosen one trope, but turned up on its head or something. The chosen one's not really the chosen one or something. I don't know. It sounded super cool, so I'll let you know more when I get to this one. The final book we're going to read for this vlog is Shatter Me, which is like a dystopian romance. Because I promised a girl at school I would read it. There's this girl who's a freshman, so she's about to be a sophomore. She talked to me every single morning. She would come to the library every single day of school, and we talked about books. And she is obsessed with this book. It's her favorite book series. It's what got her into reading. She's read them over and over and over. And she's like, every day, she's like, you have to read it. You have to read it. When are you going to read it? And I was like, okay, I'll read it. So I don't think I'm going to like it, but I have to read it. So I'm sure on literally the first day of school, she's going to come to me and be like, did you read it? So we're going to try it. It's a long series. I don't know how many books, like 6 or 7 books or something, but we're just going to try this first one. It's really short. And I think the audiobook was like, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours. So, okay. So wish me luck. I will update you when I get a little farther into the first book. Quick update, guys. I am almost halfway through The Raven Boys. I think I'm 40%. And the first time I DNF'd this book was, I went back and looked, it was like 26 or 27%. So I made it a lot farther and I'm really enjoying it. What has happened? This makes me question everything about DNFing books because maybe I DNF'd books because they were audiobooks, but if I'd read them physically, I would have really enjoyed them. Oh my gosh, I'm questioning everything. But this is much better than I expected. I think knowing what it was going into it really helped. Being able to truly pay attention to actually like what's happening really helped. Whereas, when I was listening to the audiobook, I'm sure I was very distracted. I don't even think I knew the plot summary of this before when I read it the first time, but basically it's about a group of 4 guys. There's really 3 main ones. We don't really know much about the 4th one. They call the nickname's the Raven Boys because they go to a school where the mascot is a raven, and it's like a really fancy hoity-toity like boarding school type thing, and only like really rich kids go there, except one of the kids is not very rich, but he went there on a scholarship. It's a lot about their friendship dynamic, but then also like right now we're just doing a lot of character kind of build up basically with these main 3 characters. But then there's also a girl named Blue who can see ghosts, and she comes from a family of psychics, and they do like readings and things like that, and they're going to come together somehow. But then there's also this hunt for these old dead Welsh kings. That's really what it's about. And ley lines in Virginia. That's where this thing is set. And it's very atmospheric and moody and dark. And it's set in the springtime though. So it's kind of still a good summer read, even though it seems like it would be a good fall time read. But I just am so shocked that I'm enjoying this because it sounds so weird. And of course it's young adult, but knowing what it is going into it has helped. I'm kind of looking forward to reading the whole series at this point. So I'm going to keep reading. And when I get maybe 75% or so of the way through, I will update you again and let you know if it's still going as well as it is now. Look at that. Look at that scene. I got Ella right here. Look at that. And I am ready for some reading. I'm about to get to halfway through this book. Hello, I just got back from running like 3 miles and I thought we'd make some iced coffee together and see how that goes. But I finished this book. So the book, loved it. Gave it 4.5 stars. I don't know what this tells me about DNFs now. Like I'm scared that I've DNF'd books that I should not have DNF'd. This is some cold brew coffee that I made, which is just this little cheap thing you can buy on Amazon. It's really handy. So I absolutely love this book, and I have now started the sequel. And I'm sorry I did not update you anymore in the middle because there was a huge plot twist about 3/4 of the way through the book, I would say. I meant to tell you my reaction to it because I was like, what? I saw it coming right before it happened. So I don't know. I mean, there was kind of a hint. So I can't say I really predicted it. I mean, I predicted it like right before it happened. But maybe I was supposed to. I'm going to use almond milk this time because this is more like coffee concentrate. So I'm just going to throw a bunch of almond milk in here and see what happens. It's very pretty. And I thought this book was so good. I was hooked. I could not stop reading. I could not put it down. It's the fastest I've read a book physically. A little bit of heavy cream because I had some on hand. Fastest I've read a book in a very, very long time. I read the entire thing physically. But I have now started the second book, and here was sugar-free vanilla syrup. I started the audiobook of the second one because I just think I'll have more time to read it on audio than I will physically. So I started listening to it this morning while I was running, and I'm already like a 10% in or something. I don't know if it's going to be as good, but I hear it is pretty good. And then I also have this. So we're going to, wait, let's see if this is okay first. Ooh, pretty yummy. Could use a little more coffee flavor, actually. You know what? We're going to throw a little bit more coffee in there. Do I need more caffeine? No. But I'm about to go clean out some cabinets here in the kitchen, which is one reason I'm in here. I'm going to go clean and organize drawers and cabinets and things, and thought I would listen to my audiobook while I do so. Ooh, look at that beaut. Look at that thing. Pretty good, if I say so myself. I mean, it's not a Starbucks, but it's not bad. So yeah, 4.5 stars, and I'm moving on to the sequel. But for this vlog, I will start, maybe today actually. I have some time later that I might start reading after I get tired because I've been running and now I'm gonna go clean and organize. So when I get tired, I will sit down and I think I'm gonna start Shatter Me. And I think I've learned my lesson. I'm gonna start reading it physically because I think it's gonna be bad. And I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna like it. I don't even know if I'll make it through it. But I thought if I read it physically, maybe I'll enjoy it because I learned my lesson from this one. I could not believe how good this book was. Like, oh my gosh, if you remotely like fantasy or kind of like, it was very atmospheric. Highly recommend The Raven Boys. Okay, it's lunchtime. We have this leftover chicken. It's like Caesar chicken. It's kind of like a, I don't know, it's homemade. It's got like Greek yogurt and stuff, but it's like a weird chicken salad and some barbecued chips and of course, seltzer water, key lime, one of my faves. Still organizing and cleaning the kitchen. The Roomba's running is what that noise is in the background, and we are starting Shatter Me right now while we eat. I'm going to read it physically, but I had to read you this little quote on the back because it sounds so stupid. It says, "The moon understands what it means to be human, uncertain, alone, cratered by imperfections." Okay, I've reached a stopping point. I just read 20% of this book. I'm on page 67, and I just flew through it. I'm gonna say I'm a little surprised. It's definitely better than I expected. There's two things that stood out to me. It's more poetic than I expected it to be. It flows so well. The writing style is very unique. And it reminds me of 1984. I did not expect the references to basically it's like the exact same world as 1984. There's even like slogans that they use that are similar, you know, on posters. They're trying to basically kind of make a universal language and cut out words and things. I mean, it's so much like 1984. Which is one of my favorite classics of all time ever. So I'm really actually enjoying that aspect of it. There are parts that are like marked out. I don't know if you can see this, on purpose, because it's like the character's writing in her journal, so she's marking stuff out, and there's a note at the beginning from the author that says that there is repetition, hyperbolic language, and obsession with numbers. There's the stuff marked out that's a visual representation of the chaos in Juliet's mind. It says, as our heroine grows and evolves, so too does her prose, and she finds her voice. The strike throughs will disappear, the language softens, the repetition dissolves, and the numerals will ease into written words. This is ultimately a story of change. Thank you so much for reading. So I'm actually really intrigued by this writing style. I thought it was gonna be like really simplistic at first because of that note, but honestly, no, it's really poetic. Like, I'm shocked. I know Tahereh Mafi is supposed to be a really good author. I don't know why I had such doubts, because I guess I just thought that the plot wouldn't catch me because I don't really care for dystopian. I don't really care for romance, and I thought it was a combination of the two. But I'm more intrigued than I thought I was going to be. There was already a little plot twist with like a character, and that was really interesting. So she's finally out of her little prison cell now and into the real world again, and I'm really intrigued to see where it's going to go from here. I know it's a long series though, so I'm not sure how there's like 5 or 6 books in the series, especially if there's going to be a romance. I also hear that maybe there's a love triangle, so I'm a little concerned about that, but off to a way better start start than I anticipated, probably because I am reading it physically. Maybe that's the key on these young adult books, apparently. But anyway, I'm 20% in. Yeah, I'm gonna keep going with this book. I'm pretty into it. Okay, we're back in the kitchen making popcorn, because why not? And I mixed Dr. Pepper with, it was Dr. Pepper Zero mixed with the new creamy coconut Dr. Pepper, because it had a lot of sugar and the other one had too much fake sugar. So I made some sort of concoction that's like basically part real sugar, part fake sugar. It was pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. I've also made some popcorn. And instead of watching a movie, we're gonna sit down and watch like 3 different booktube videos. A lot of my favorite booktubers just came out with a video just now in the last like 30 minutes. We've got Destiny from Destiny Sidwell. She did like a mid-year check-in. I've got Books and Lala, Kayla, she did her June wrap-up. And then I've got Jade from JD Ray Reads, who just has like a 45-minute reading vlog for like all of June. But I thought really quickly I would just update you. Oh yeah, and my kitchen's like clean, which is crazy. My husband cleaned the whole kitchen. Look at this thing. Okay, so I'm over halfway through the book. I don't know that I'll check in again before the actual ending, but let me just tell you what. It is repetitive, like the sentences, the sentence structure. She uses parallel sentence structure. It's parallelism is what it is. And that's why I think I was saying it was poetic. But sometimes it's to the point that it's all parallel. It's kind of ridiculous. I have to give you an example. Let me read you this paragraph. There's like 3 different examples of parallelism back to back to back. It says, because this is somebody talking to somebody, and they say, maybe I understand you, Juliet. Maybe you should trust me. Maybe you should accept the fact that you've tried to be happy, blah, 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 or whatever. Okay, all parallel sentences, right? The next one, they were literally the very next sentence. They were never satisfied. They never cared, did they? They never, it's like they never did this. They never did that. So, okay, parallel. Then he looks at me, and for a moment, he seems almost human. For a moment, I want to believe him. For a moment, I want to sit on the floor and cry out the ocean lodged in my throat. Which, there's a lot of metaphors, a lot of similes, a lot of metaphors, and they're unique and interesting, so I do like them. But do you see what I mean? 3 examples of parallel sentence structure back to back to back. And I do like that, but sometimes it's too much. But it is very, like I say, very poetic because of that, and I feel like that's why that and the metaphors and the similes. I'm still enjoying it. I think I'm going to get the second book from the library like tomorrow. So I am going to continue the series because I want to know what's going to happen. But honestly, there's not, like, the plot is so slow moving. I feel like more could happen. I mean, because there's 6 books in the series, and now I do see why. It's because so much more could be happening, I think, than it actually is. I think I see where it's going. I do see the possibility of a love triangle. I'm wondering if, like, she's going to be betrayed by like one of the main guys, I don't know. And that that one that's the bad guy is not actually going to be the bad guy, because it kind of reminds me of like Rhysand from Court of Thorns and Roses. Like, he seemed like he was going to be the bad guy, but then he wasn't. And then he was the main love interest. So maybe that's going to happen here too. Although he literally sort of made her torture a child. So I don't think we can get away around that. Like, he's a bad guy. Let's go watch some booktube and eat some popcorn. And when I finish this, I will let you know my final thoughts. Right now, it's on track to be like, I don't know, 3.5 stars. It's so fast. This is one of the fastest books to read. I've been reading this for only, I don't know, what, 24 hours, something like that. And a little over 24 hours. And I'm like, getting close to being 2/3 of the way done with this thing. It's great when like your biggest problem is you don't know which one to watch first. Kayla's, Destiny's, or Jade's. Oh, I don't know. Okay, ignore the bouncy house that is collapsing in our family room, but we have mounted our TV and our sound bar. Isn't it awesome? We have our backlight on the TV. This is our ambiance while we're reading, because I actually convinced Zach to read with me.
Hi.
He's got a book. Show him your book. Look, it's a Disneyland book. So of course we had to watch a Disney video. So there we go. That's our ambiance. Well, this is embarrassing. This is the second time I've had to film this. I just filmed this literally the exact same thing just now and realized that I had zoomed in on the TV, and so therefore I was zoomed in on my face. All you could see was like this huge face on the screen. So real quick, let me just give you the exact same update again. I feel like I literally just did this, but you all don't know that. So anyway, let me tell you, Shatter Me is still going pretty well. I think it's gonna be like probably a 3.5 star. I would say it's better than average, which is very exciting, and I've only got 59 pages left. However, I'm going to stop for the night, and I'm going to finish it first thing in the morning, because I think I'll have plenty of time tomorrow. We don't have too many plans. Take Ash to daycare, Got some plans with some friends in the afternoon, but I can probably finish this pretty quickly. Like, I've been reading this very, very quickly. It's going to take me less than an hour to read that. So that's really good. But the reason why I wanted to update you is because I was supposed to read this book for this vlog. I remember this was the third book that I was going to read, the third and final book. However, I'm going to substitute it because that book, I don't know the premise of it exactly, but I know it sounds really similar to another book that I've been reading, that I've just been reading for fun, which is How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying. And this just sounds so similar, but like more of a young adult version. I mean, I don't think it really is that similar, but I just don't want anything remotely similar to that because I want something different right now. So today I filmed a video, and you've probably already seen it, it's out now, that is my top 10 favorite young adult books of all time ever. And number 1 on that list was Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessl. Don't look at the cover. It doesn't do it justice. I said that in my video. This cover makes it look sad. It makes it look boring, honestly, and it makes it look like realistic fiction. And it's none of those things. This is like it's sci-fi. It's like a time loop sort of thing. It's a psychological thing. It's got a mystery in it. It's definitely not at all what this cover looks like. So I'm just going to take that off right now to not confuse us. Let's just look at this black book right here, just with some writing on the spine. That's pretty much it. Oh, it's got a stamp on it. I just realized that. Oh, that's cool. Oh, it says 11.2 hours and so many minutes, and it's got like a clock face on it. I didn't notice that before. That's kind of cool. Anyway, so I filmed that video today and said that this is my favorite young adult book of all time. I want to reread this book so badly. So you know what? We're going to do it in this vlog because it's young adult, and I know I've already read it before. So technically, yes, I know it's going to be really, really good, but is it my favorite young adult book of all time? Does it stand the test of time? Is it like a 5-star, 6-star? Is that a thing? So we're just going to reread it and find out, because honestly, I read this book when it first came out. I looked at the copyright date because, I already filmed this clip once, and it came out in 2018. So I must have read it right when it came out, because I read this book when I got my first job as a librarian at my old school, like when I was a district librarian. I remember trying to read popular young adult books as soon as I got hired, because I thought, oh, that'll be fun, that I can read new stuff that I can talk to kids about. So I picked this book up with a bunch of other ones. I think it was the last one I read over that summer, and it was so good. I could not believe it. But this was way before BookTube. This was before I read a bunch of young adult books. So I'm so intrigued after reading so much more. How is this going to compare? Is it going to be as good? Either way, it's going to be a success, I think. And this vlog is going to be a success. Who knew? Like the first book with the Raven Boys, I gave 4.5 stars or 4.25. I think that was what I'm going to say. I'm probably going to give Shatter Me 3.5, but like it's better than average. So, I mean, it's good. Like I'm going to finish it. I'm probably going to continue the series. In fact, I'm continuing the Raven Boys series too. So that's good. And then we know this one's going to be hopefully a 5-star. So all in all, I'm starting to question, maybe I do actually like young adult books. Like I always say, like, oh, they're not very well written, they're bad. I mean, yes, a lot of them are bad, and I DNF a lot of them. Makes you wonder how some of them get published, but these have been pretty good. So we're going to substitute and start this one. I really have a hankering to start it right now, so that's why I'm pausing on Shatter Me, and I'll finish it in the morning, and I'm just going to start reading this because I really, really want to. So you know how I said I could finish that book this morning? I was like, I'll finish Shatter Me in the morning.
Finish one, Mommy.
Well, it's after daycare and I've not finished the book, so oops. We got a little bit busy today. I got up, I ran 5 miles, I got all ready and stuff, and then we went out to lunch with some friends, Zach's friends, which I guess are now my friends too, which is exciting. We have friends, like who are we? And then
we already did this one.
We already did this one? We're watching bottles rolling down the stairs, aren't we? That's what we like to watch. And we got your new shirt on for the 4th of July, and it's got a dinosaur and planes, and the dinosaur's wearing sunglasses. So Shatter Me is almost done, like 40 pages to go. I will update you tonight because I'm finishing that thing like tonight. Okay, so it's like 9 o'clock at night. It's like 9:30, and somehow I'm still awake because I slept late and I had caffeine today. The pink slush Alani. We're gonna have to talk about that in a video because it's so good. Anyway, I finished Shatter Me. I am going to give it 3.5 stars. So it was, not a DNF, which is good. And I would say it was just a little above average because of the writing quality itself. I liked the writing style. That's really about all I can say. The world building is pretty lacking. You really don't know anything about this world. It seems like kind of a 1984-esque world. But I think it's going more in the direction now of like X-Men. Yep, did not know they were going to be like superheroes. Well, or not really necessarily. I don't know if they're going to be heroes, but like they're going to each have their own superpower, like kind of like a little training school. Sorry if that's a spoiler, but I feel like that's like where the entire rest of the series is going. But not much happens. I mean, I feel like this is all just almost like backstory and setup to get to that point. Like it could have been, I don't know, like a prequel novella or something for the main story. Like it doesn't feel like that this is the main story. It's like, okay, now book 2 is going to be the main story. I mean, that's what I feel like. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but I just don't know that we needed this. So her touch is like lethal, right? Like she can kill people if she touches them. And that's all we know. Like, I just don't feel like I feel like there's got to be more to that. Like, how does it work? I don't know. I did go to the library and get the second book. It's longer than the first book, but I think I'll take a little break before I get right into that. But I am going to continue both the series so far that I've started. But I did want to also update you that I did start Neverworld Wake, and I'm on page 36. So I'm going to not read this right now, though, because I think I just need a little bit of break from the YA stuff. Sorry, there's fireworks going on outside because it's like right before July 4th. I was intrigued by this one, and I was surprised how fast moving it was, but we'll talk more about this one in the next clip. So, hello, good people of the internet. I just said I have not informed you about my book recently. So, I want to tell you about Neverworld Wake. I am a third of the way through now. I'm on approximately page 100. Here's the boy. We're driving back from Ashland, so I've not had a ton of time to read because we've been to Ashland, our hometown, for the last few days for 4th of July. But I did decide to go back to this book. I think I said in the last clip I was going to pause and read What Feast at Night, but I decided, you know what, I'm just going to power through this one. I'm going to save What Feast at Night for my little 24-hour readathon thing I'm going to do because it's short. But this one, honestly, is very fast to read too. This is a very, very fast book, and I kind of forgotten that. I'm really liking these YA books because they are so fast to read. But I just wanted to tell you that I do think it gets started right off the bat. So I was worried that it was going to be a lot of setup of them getting into the Neverworld, and where I've read this book before, I was like, I already know how they get there, I already know about the car accident, blah blah blah, I already told you about all this in the plot summary. They do get to the Neverworld a lot faster than I remembered, and I do like all the characters and how they're kind of introduced and like all their backstories and stuff. I think the dynamic between them is really cool, and literally 100 pages in, there's already been like months or possibly even years worth of them waking up on the same day over and over. So it's very, very fast paced, and I honestly don't remember what's going to happen for the whole 2/3 of the book I have left. Like, I'm pretty sure, I know it turns into, like I said, kind of a murder mystery at some point. So I'm gonna...
Worms in the rain.
Worms in the rain? There's worms in the rain. Sorry, Ash is over here being adorable. I will update you very soon when I read another third of the book and let you know how it's going. Got our ambiance. It looks kind of fallish, but I mean, look at that. It's supposed to be summer, like a summer morning. And, zoom out. Page 162, exactly halfway through the book. Yay! Ignore the bouncy house. Yes, my hair is very wet, but I just need to give you an update very quickly. I have been sick. Like, I've had a fever, a pretty high fever that like would not come down with medicine yesterday. Hey, editing Megan here. Spoiler alert, I have strep throat. And I didn't know it in this video. In fact, I went for 4 days without knowing I had strep and finally went to the doctor after having a fever for 4 days. And now I have antibiotics and I'm getting better. And so while I was sick, I read a third of this book. I have a third of the book left and I'm going to finish it today. But my update, my thoughts right now, it's kind of the same thoughts I have when I've been reading Interview with the Vampire. And that is, I think I don't like rereading books anymore. All I used to do, like before I joined BookTube, all I did was reread books because I had my same favorite books and I just didn't branch out and read new ones. Not very often anyway. But once I found BookTube and got a lot of new recommendations, I started reading just all kinds of books, right? Like 100 books a year last year and like 60 books so far this year. And so when I go back to reread a book, I just don't want to. And it's good. It's still really good. And I still don't remember how it ends. So it's still kind of a mystery. But something about it, I'm just like, I need to hurry and get through this one so I can read a new one. Even if the new one's not as good, like I'd rather read a new book than reread an old book. And this is so different for me. So since I joined BookTube, I think I've only I reread Slate House, I've reread this one, and I'm rereading Interview with the Vampire right now. So 3 books since 4 years ago. I joined BookTube 4 years ago. I've only reread 3 books in 4 years. That's crazy. think I know now not to reread books. Like, I'm just not even going to try anymore, even if they're 5 stars. I mean, maybe if they're 5 stars, but like once in a blue moon will I reread a book now, because there's just so many books out there. There are too many books that I want to read. And so that's kind of my thoughts in general about rereading books. But as far as the book goes, it is really good. I do wish, so there was a mystery about who was this drug dealer. Like, there was a drug dealer at their school in the past called the White Rabbit. And the guy that died, Jim, they think that maybe he was the White Rabbit. And they're like, let's solve the mystery of the White Rabbit. And they just introduced this concept of somebody being the White Rabbit at their school, this drug dealer. And then within, I don't know, 15 pages, it's solved. They're like, oh, it was so-and-so. And I'm like, I feel like that should have been a little longer, like a little bit more of a mystery. But I do like how fast-paced this is. It is very fast-paced. I do like all these crazy plans that they have to hatch. They're still trying to solve, there's like a lot going on. Like, they're trying to solve the mystery of the kid's murder, right? Because they think it'll help get them out of this time loop, this Neverworld. One of the characters is like super duper smart, and she loved this book called something about Bend. It's in the front. Oh, The Dark House at Elsewhere Bend, and they just call it the Bend. So this little quote at the beginning, which I'll read to you because it's really fun. It says, "Sometimes there are no answers. Sometimes you find love. Sometimes the dark has teeth. Sometimes it hides doves. The one thing you can expect in life as you step down this twisted road is that you will be speechless. Then ask someone who knows." I just think that's cool. But it turns out that in the Neverworld, there are some elements of that book, and it's kind of a long story as to why. You'll just have to read it. And I like that, like how a book has influenced this place that they're in. So they're going to have to use some of the like rules of physics kind of from that book. Today, I'm going to try to finish this book. My fever has been coming back. I didn't take any medicine last night, and my fever didn't come back, but then I woke up this morning and it started coming back. So I just took some medicine, but now I'm gonna go organize some of our pictures on the computer, and I will come to you later with my final update for this book. Quick update, I have 40 pages left, but I just got to the mystery. They solved the mystery of Jim's death. It's crazy that I didn't remember any of that. Like, I totally forgot what happened. And let's just say I'm still intrigued because there are 2 more mysteries to solve. Well, one actual mystery, and then the idea of the vote, that they have to vote for one person to stay alive. I mean, it has to be the main character, right? I just don't remember why or how, or if they get out of it some other way, or did the rest of them really all die? Like, I don't know. But there's so much going on in this book. The second time around, it's not like my absolute favorite thing ever. I mean, it's still probably my favorite young adult book of all time, but I think it's only because I knew what was to be expected. But the first time I read it, I had no idea that's where it was going. I think that was why it was so good. So it turns out most books are not as good on reread, is what I'm realizing. Maybe the type of book like Anne Rice, because I enjoy the writing style so much. But if I'm just reading it for the plot, then of course I don't even remember the whole plot of this book, but if I'm just reading it for the plot, then I don't think rereads are necessarily for me. Okay, I feel miserable. I have a fever again. So I took some medicine, but I'm kind of like chilled and everything. But I finished Neverworld Wake. Turns out having a fever, let me put this down. Having a fever gives you a lot more time to read. So at least there's that. I finished Neverworld Wake, and I'm still giving it 5 stars, obviously. Couple thoughts though, just overall, a general thought is that I wish this book were longer. I think it needed to be much slower paced. There was so much happening and just reveal after reveal after reveal. And honestly, the first time I liked that because I didn't know what to expect next. But this time, knowing kind of where it was going, obviously, like I said, I didn't remember everything, but it was like too many reveals. Like, if you read this book, you'll know what I mean. It was like, oh, it turns out it was this, and then it was this, and then it was this. It was just reveal after reveal after reveal. So maybe it's not quite as good in retrospect, which means I don't think I want to reread too many of my favorites if they're not because of the writing style, like I said, like Anne Rice or something, because they're not going to be as good the second time. Like, a lot of these are only good the first time because you just want to know what happens. But when you read it the second time, you're just like nitpicking, looking for the little stuff. And so this time, knowing it was going to be a 5-star, it had such a high standard to live up to that it was tough for it to do that, I feel like. So that's my only complaint about that. It's still a 5-star read. I don't know if it's my favorite young adult book now because I loved I Hunt Killers so much, but if I reread I Hunt Killers, is it going to be the same problem? I don't know. Maybe I should wait a little while before I reread it because I've reread it a little more recently than I read this one in, 2018? So maybe I should wait a few years, reread I Hunt Killers, see how it compares to this one. Maybe they'll swap places and that one will be my favorite. But I did just want to read you one quote because I liked it so much. At the end, it tries to give you some like lessons that you can learn out of this book. I don't know, it's a little heavy-handed. It's like the author's like, okay, here's the lessons of this book for you. So at the end it says that you only see very little of like other people. It says, we swear we see each other, just people in general, but all we are ever able to make out is a tiny porthole view of an ocean. I really like that metaphor there. We think we remember the past as it was, but our memories are only as fantastic and flimsy as dreams. It's so easy to hate the pretty one, worship the genius, love the rock star, trust the good girl. That's never their only story. We are all anthologies. We are each thousands of pages long, filled with fairy tales and poetry, mysteries and tragedy, forgotten stories in the back no one will ever read. The most we can do is hold out our hands and help each other across the unknown. For in our own held hands, we find pathways through the dark, across jungles and cities, bridges suspended over the deepest caverns of this world. And then I'm not going to read the next sentence because it spoils some things, but I love that part about how we are really... all we ever see, everybody just sees this little porthole view of you. And the inside of you, though, it's like an ocean, and all we ever get to see is through the little porthole. I just love that. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was thinking about my husband. And I was like, I feel like I see more of him than just the porthole. So maybe maybe I have a whole door to him. I don't know. Anyway, I love that metaphor though. I thought that was really unique. Well, I did like the ending. It's kind of crazy how everything gets wrapped up. It's a little ridiculous. I mean, obviously this book's ridiculous, right? I mean, the premise is pretty out there. The ending, oh, I can't even tell you. I wish I could do like a spoiler thing about this because something at the ending reminds me an episode of a TV show that I always really liked, and I can't tell you what it is, but it reminds me of that, and oh my gosh, I wish I could say it, but I can't. Well guys, that is the end to this reading vlog, a very sick reading vlog. My fever has come back and I am not feeling well at all, and I'm gonna go take another Motrin because it's like 101.5 now, and I'm shivering. So I just wanted to wrap up this vlog, which, I mean, yes, I'm doing that even when I'm sick and it's crazy, but I wanted to say how much of a success this was. I went back and watched the old vlog the first time I did this, and I saw that I DNF'd 2 books, and then I gave 2 books like a decent rating. One of which was like kind of a new all-time favorite, The Naturals. So I still called that vlog a success. Well, if that vlog was a success and I still DNF'd half the books, this vlog was definitely a success. I read all of them. Now, one was a reread, granted, but this one was definitely a success because I really thought I would hate this one. I had previously DNF'd this one, so I had no hope for that, and of course, I knew this one would be 5 stars. But considering the success of these 2, oh my gosh. So I also said that I would try other genres. I didn't really branch out on that too much, did I? I mean, this is dystopian, like, romance, so... I mean, I did branch out there, I guess. So final thoughts, this one was a 3.5 and I already have the sequel in my possession. I got it from the public library. I have a whole series in my library, but the books are still all boxed up, ready to be unloaded at the new library. So this one, I gave I lowered it to 4.25 instead of 4.5. The fact that I read it physically helped tremendously. So I've learned my lesson there. Read books physically instead of just on audio. It does make me question how many times I have DNF'd a book that I would have possibly liked. Oops. But I have already read the sequel. There are 4 books in the series, so I'm now halfway through. I am pausing just because I did the 2 back to back and I was getting a little burnt out. I did listen to the second one on audiobook and I didn't like it as much. I gave it 3.5. It was still better than average, but I didn't care about the plot really of what it was about. It was a little too slow moving. I'm wondering if this series could have been 3 books because I don't think book 2 really had that much happening, honestly, compared to like this one. I love first books in series though. I love build-ups of everything more so than I do like usually how they actually turn out. And I plan on continuing that series though. And then another 5-star read, obviously. Maybe not quite as good as it was the first time, but very short. Also, what this has made me realize is how fast young adult books are to read. I read all 3 of these books so fast, and now I know that I could read more during the school year. I don't have much time to read physically during the school year because Ash goes to bed around like 8 or 9, and then I usually go to bed at like 10. So, I mean, there's not much physical reading time. Like, that's it. That's all I would have would be between the time he goes to bed and then bedtime. And if I have to do anything else, well, then there's no time. So, I think I know now, though, that I could easily read some books, and it always seems like it'd be too daunting to read a book during the school year because it would just take too long to read it. Like, it would take me 2 weeks or so to read a book or more. Sometimes it's taken me months to read a book. So the fact I could read a page in like 30 seconds was amazing, and I think I could read this faster than even I could listen to the audiobook. So I will be continuing that journey of reading physically, I think, once the school year starts back, at least. I say that for now. So I finished all the books. They were all better than 3 stars, so 3.5, 4.25, and a 5. Overwhelming success. We are going to try this again. We're just going to keep this as an experiment because I've got Cinder over here. I've got Trader's Kiss. I've got Illuminate. I've got The Rest of Us Just Live Here. I don't know. I've got a lot of random books that are young adult that I need to read. And if you have any recommendations for me, oh, the person that recommended me a book last time, I'm so sorry. I don't have that book, and I'll need to check the public library and see if they have it, and I will add it to my list for the next time because I do need like a romance on there. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this was interesting and maybe you found some new books. I actually recommend all three of these. Shatter Me, it's just kind of silly, but the poetic writing I really liked. I think the other two though are really good books if you're interested. So check those out, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye.